Right, welcome back guys. Today I'm all about these beds here. These are my beds that I prepared in different manners. Some are mulched, some I dug. Why not? It's a borrowed plot. The guy that actually owns the plot is a digger, so no problem at all. And one I've no dug. And what I wanted to do is plant the same crops in each bed and see how they behave to each different treatment. I've used strawberries, broccoli and new potatoes to get a spread of the chemical requirements that these guys need. The strawberries were a bit young and there was a lot of failure there. Not down to the way the beds were prepared, but purely because they went out during an excessively wet period, and I think a few of them did rot off. But there's enough there to give me a crop to judge beds by, and we'll go and see that in a minute. First of all though, I'm just going to run a clip that stems from when I prepared these beds, and I'll introduce you to the different preparations I've used on the 5 different ways. So let's go. Five different methods of cultivation, but one hasn't been undertaken yet, which is this bed here. I'll give you a close-up in a minute, but basically on the end is traditionally dug section, about 1.5 meters. Next bed is no dig with compost, cardboard compost. This one is no compost, and it'll be powered by just the beans alone. A bit dodgy because it's been poor bean growing area. This one, as I said, is the bed that I need your help with today. And this bed here, which you can't quite see but it's basically got winter tares in, and then it's been a dreadful year for winter tares. So I'm going to give it a light bit of compost over as well. So, as I already said, there are strawberries, broccoli and potatoes. Potatoes are at the back there. At this particular time of recording there was only one left, because the other 2 had been harvested. This is the no dig bed here. As you can see, the broccoli just isn't getting a move on. The strawberries of course are finished. The green manure, what should I say, the field beans were a disaster, as you'll see later on, and this was a respectable crop of the woodchip. But the outstanding crop was these. And I won't mention the preparation just yet. Right then, so focusing on each little plot. I've recorded the weights of the crops. The traditionally dug with the same compost as the no dig didn't perform fantastically well, especially when you compare it with the no dig beside it. No dig came top in 2 of the crops. The field beans acted more of a control crop because they were poor as hell, but field beans will take the goodness that they're given, not necessarily generate it, so that was a bit of a failure. The wood chips, actually I was really pleased with these because I wasn't too optimistic, but they provided an average crop. If you compare those with the control bed, they're far better. But the winter tares plus seaweed mulch was outstandingly better on the nitrogen side. Right, so against the backdrop of that particular bed, I'll give you the overall yields. This is the strawberries, and you can see both the no dig and the tares and seaweed did fairly well, with an honourable mention to the woodchip. Not too bad. The field beans, a total disaster. Potatoes, however, gave very interesting results, in as much as that the tares and seaweed consistently gave the most volume of tubers. If I'd let all 3 plants go to full maturity, I have no doubt the tares and seaweed would have been top on this. But I set the rules for myself before knowing what was going to happen. And no dig is the winner. Dug quite a bit behind, even though it's the same compost. The broccoli was visually a success for the nitrogen that was held within the tares and seaweed bed. Total success. There's one more thing I should consider as well, and that's the weed growth that had to be tackled. On the dug bed, it was quite appalling. It was too heavy. It was a real pain in the butt compared with the no dig, which was virtually zero. This is also on the borrowed plot, and it seems that the no dig pair of squash aren't doing as well as the no dig under plastic squash. These are double the size. The crop inside is looking pretty good on all of them. Ain't too bad on this, but it's about half interest as well. This is ground that was partly dug over, partly no dig. There was a path going along here, so that bit over there was dug, but this was left no dig. First real year to be honest with you, but it had a nice dose of compost on top of it, and that pumpkin is not as doing as well as this pumpkin or that pumpkin. And the only difference with them is the edge of ground wasn't treated with anything in particular. Field beans, I've got to check. I can't remember what it was over winter. But they didn't have any compost surrounding it, but they had compost filling these tubes. Good compost in both of them, and the pumpkin seems to really like that. So if you want to give your pumpkins a good boost and stay no dig, get these little tubes. They're bottomless, of course. I don't know how they are. I think they may be drainage tubes. But there we are. Let's have a look. Hang on. See, you see the size of them? Ooh, yeah. 2/3 of a metre across. I don't bloody know. You know, one of my former iterations was an estimator. I was the world's worst estimator. If I said it was going to take 5 minutes, it would take 10. If I guessed that it was 12 inches long, it'd be 15. I was useless. It was a person more unsuited to be an estimator. It's me. Anyway, there we are, back to puppy allotments. The snugs and snails are having a field day, but they won't harm the pumpkins. One further thing I did was this area of this bed. I applied a really good thick layer of mulch of leaves, nothing else, just leaves. The crops planted in there have struggled. You can see they're doing okay. They're coming on, but the red cabbage in particular really hasn't liked it. If you then move up to this one, there's another red cabbage. This is now in an area where the field beans were, and a small amount of compost. And these are doing much better. But surprisingly, up the top half here, where there was a generous amount of compost, no field beans, we're back smaller again. We'll have to wait until the season draws out. But yeah, very, very interesting result so far. These are getting very close to their termination now. I'm going to chop off the foliage of the Carolus. I'm going to leave go the Blue Danube, which is these ones here, just for a little bit longer, even though these have had the length of timing they're supposed to have. No blight on them, of course, because they're a blight resistant variety. There's a touch of what could be blight, but they, if it's the same as the past dictates, they won't transmit it down to the foliage. In fact, I can see now I'm here just a few suspicious marks. I'm not going to fuss around. I'm going to take the foliage off, all of them now. There we are, all the foliage taken off. Now then, we're promised some really heavy rain in 2 days' time. And everything's quite dry at the moment, so I'm quite keen to keep these fairly dry. Despite the fact we've had rain, the foliage would have shed it off. I'm gonna stack these away into the polytunnel to keep the compost on the dry side. You'll see why later on.